and welcome to the program Discuss Nigeria. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria, and a happy new month. Happy 65th Independence Anniversary once again to Nigeria. On today's edition of Discuss, we'll be looking at Nigerians 65 years after independence, rethinking Nigerians' path to unity, governance, and development. We'll be looking at that today. We're having that conversation on how the journey has been so far 65 years ago. We reflect on Nigeria's 65 years of independence from 1960 till date. The journey has been marked by triumph, challenges, and unrelenting quest for a united and a prosperous nation. But are we where we ought to be? That's a very big question. What lessons can be drawn from our past, and how do we chart a more sustainable future? To help us explore this, we have a distinguished guest here in the studio in a person of Comrade James Izema. He is a public affairs and a political analyst, and also the national president for Not Too Young to Perform initiative. Good afternoon, happy independence, and happy new month to you.
Well, I think everywhere I went today, what we have been hearing is happy new month.
Okay.
Everybody has been talking about independence.
Your ID card and your clothes actually is matching Nigeria, so I would say
you have to be green and white. So there must be a touch of green.
There has to be a touch of green. So looking back at how Nigeria has fared in governance, unity, and development since independence, give us your overview of how the journey so far has been.
Well, the journey so far has been like a man who is navigating an ocean that is full of turbulences here and there, and has continued to go irrespective of the waves that are resisting and making sure that the journey is not safe. It is like somebody who has just decided and said we must get to our destination no matter how long it takes us. But whether the person will get there or not is all dependent on nature, as it were. But as it is, we are determined as a country, we are determined as a people, we are determined to make Nigeria work. But if the politicians will cooperate with the ordinary citizens, why not? If not, Nigeria will be there.
Okay. Nigeria, there's a prayer for Nigeria to be there. But let's look at this other angle. What does independence truly mean beyond political freedom?
Well, independence is supposed to be a holistic definition. It should be in the holistic definition of it, in not just getting a native flag lifted and the flag of the colonial master lowered. So no, it is not. That is not just independent. Independence has to be holistic. You have to be independent economically. You have to be independent. Even when you are so-called political process, is your electoral process independent? Is your governance system independent? Are the people who run the government independent, or are they influenced by outsiders? So these are some of the things that we should also be looking at, because independence is not just about flag independence, as they say, where you have a self-rule and that is all. But there is a purpose being that guiding the affairs of your daily life. That cannot be said to be independence. So you are still tied to the purpose of some of other persons who have declared you independent. Just like during the days of slavery, they got the point that slaves were set free. So after some time, slaves are set free, and when those slaves are set free, they are expected to go and live their normal life. But if the slave master is still the one controlling how the slave live his life, even as a free man, then he is not free.
Since we're talking, okay, this time around we're talking institutions now from what you're saying. You don't look at it from the institutional standpoint. Institutions that were designed to serve the people, correct? But they are working effectively. Are they really working effectively based on the fact that we are on what we are looking at? Or if they are not, for the past 65 years, if it's a 65-year-old man is actually not a baby anymore, he should be thinking of grandchildren as we speak at this point. But looking at those angles, what reforms are urgently needed if those institutions that are already been put in place to help better Nigerians, better the life of every common Nigerian man, what institution can be put in place to, help aid that so that Nigerians will actually enjoy the dividends of the fact that Nigeria is an independent country?
Yeah, first of all, let me demystify the word institution.
Okay.
By my training, institution is simply a set of rules. Mm-hmm. That is the simplest definition of institution. It's just a set of rules. Mm-hmm. So when you are talking about institutions, you are talking about those set of rules here and there that govern how governance is run. So there are different institutions. You find the electoral, even the judiciary. You find different kind of institutions that are there. But when you are talking of reforms, you are talking of changing rules and regulations that govern how a particular sector or a particular unit of government or a particular department of government operates, or even how maybe the National Assembly, how they carry out their business and things like that. So these are things that we are talking about. So those rules, you see, the problem we have in Nigeria is not about the institutions. Okay. The institutions are there. There were times when in 1999 we had little or no institutions in place, democratic institutions. We didn't have like the Bureau of Public Procurement were not there, ICPC were not there, EFCC were not there. You have name them. There are so many institutions that we have. We later had that were not there in 1999 when this current republic began. So it is something that actually we have to. Nigerians have been crying all this while that there are needs for the people who are currently occupying the government as it is today, and those who occupy the same government spaces in the past. They should give us those institutions, those rules and regulations that we need to make the country to be better. You see, a system that is not self-operational will always have issues. But when a system is self-regulating, self-operational, then you have less problem within that system, because you can just trigger the system and you go and sleep, knowing fully well that it will produce something that you have desired, that system has been desired to produce. But in Nigeria, it's not so. Let's take, for instance, our elections. We have the INEC as the electoral body, the institutions that regulate and conduct elections. Now, you have them, and they have some rules they have put in the form of guidelines. But along the line in 2020, after the 2023 election, the courts were looking at the rules set by INEC as not too much of an issue, because it's not so much, it's not a law. They say it's not a law, So in other words, what they are saying is that it is not binding. So when the judiciary made that kind of statement, you begin to wonder why.
Yes.
The reason is because the judicial system is being influenced. Because if it is not being influenced, you cannot say that an institution created by law to regulate how elections are run, or elections are conducted, or how political parties operate, that they, by that act that has given them power to carry out these functions, you now say that when they say do this, don't do this, you say no, they are not law. So what are they? When the enabling establishing law gave them the powers to regulate how things should be done, and we are now saying that those things that they have said, this is how we want this thing to be done, they are not laws. So if they are not laws, that why are they there? But so these are the kind of influences that we see that come outside of the system to make the system not to get the desired result, because somebody somewhere wants to either benefit or wants someone to benefit. Remember also that the electronic transmission of result was debated. They say no, your electronic transmission of result is just a mere administrative convenience, but it's not a must that they must be transmitted. So they don't want you to now write it in black and white that this is what must be done, even though the law that established the institution have said that they can decide how they are going to do their thing, and you say no, that this one that they decided is not part of the law, that it should be done in a way that if the law did not write it in black and white, then it's noted. So these are kind of influences that come from outside to make sure that the system does not produce the desired results. So these are the things we are talking about. So when we are talking about reforms, it's not just about just having reforms for the sake of having reforms. Those laws and those regulations, you will see that sometimes when there is outcry in a government, we say, okay, this law that we have made, we are supposed to start implementing it in 2015. Okay, but we are now shifting the implementation date to 2024, 2027, or 2026, or whatever time. So those are the things that we are talking about. Those are influences. The citizen influence had made the government to decide to shift the implementation time for some of those reforms. But the reason is because at the beginning, the citizens did not have buy-in into such policies.
Just like the 1990 Constitution.
So if the citizens had buy-in into those into the process, and they were part of the process and participated actively during those process that produced whatever policy that the government is implementing. There will be no outcry. But most times what politicians do is that they just get people and they decide for them and say this is what we want to implement. Then when people are saying no, because they have influence on the National Assembly, they will now influence the National Assembly to dance to their own tune. And at the end of the day, a law is made, but you cannot implement it. So because the people and they still have refused to accept it.
How can this be changed now based on the fact that over and again we've heard cries and protests about electoral reform, the electoral system should be reformed, the 1999 constitution too. Some has called for a total abolishment of the 1999 constitution, while some are calling for reform.
The reason why they are talking about that we should discard the 1999 constitution is because the foundation of that 1999 constitution is faulty. So it was not built on fallacy. Yes, it was built on a fallacy in the sense that he said we the people. If he did not say we the people of Nigeria gave to ourselves, then it would not have, nobody would have been talking about. Because when he said we the people, it means that the people were part of the process and the people had an input in coming to life of that constitution. But in this case, there is nobody who was there except the military who dusted some laws and changed it as it suited them and then decided to put them together. But they did not subject it to a referendum that will make the people to now say yes, we gave to ourselves.
We give our consent.
So because if they had subjected it to a referendum, then at the end of the day, people will now say yes, we the people we voted yes to it, so we gave it to ourselves. I remember there was a case instituted by Anthony Enahoro. Anthony Enahoro I think this Ariwa Youth national president is there. I think he is the only person alive among all the people that instituted that case. And they were asking for the constitution to be thrown away because this is the constitution that have a lie that lies against itself, say that we the people. Do you know that up to today, virtually everybody that instituted that case died. The matter was never mentioned. The day the matter will in court to be mentioned in court, they will say that the judge is indisposed, and that will be the end. They take adjournment and everybody go. Any day that the case was to come up, the judge will be indisposed. That was how it happened. So until when Navarro died, that's the other parties, the other individuals who were part of the suit. Virtually all of them have died except Alhaji Shetima Yerima, that is still alive.
Okay, looking at it now, okay, it's been something that has been coming up from the longest now. And again, I asked the question earlier about the fact that if independence is actually has to do being free politically. So now you mentioned earlier around institution and also the white man's flag being beneath and still somehow playing a role. Let's look at the economy briefly, looking at IMF and also the World Bank. Based on the current reforms that we've been seeing from this current administration, the IMF have actually made mention of the fact that this policy reforms that we are seeing is actually going to yield effect, and they give around 15 years, 10 to 15 years for it to yield proper reform and also turn the situation of Nigerian economy around. Do you think that that is the loans and everything that is being gotten from these international communities is actually helping, or you feel that the policies that we are dancing to is based on the loans that we are getting from outside?
Now, the issue is this. That's why we still talk about independence, economic independence. Is Nigeria economically independent or economically dependent? Why should it be the IMF and World Bank that should tell us how what we are doing should be, whether it should be this or that? We as citizens don't really know what we want. But if we are governing ourselves, and we say it is a democracy, it is the people that will decide how they should be governed. They are the ones that will elect the leaders. They are the ones that, based on what the leaders present to them as what they want to do, then the people will now elect them to carry out or implement whatever campaign promises or whatever is contained in their manifesto or their party manifesto. It could be because of the individual manifesto that the people will want to elect a particular person or a particular party, or based on the individual manifesto of the candidate of a particular party. So either way, it is the people that should decide based on what the political party or the individual has presented to them. They will say, okay, this is this person has captured exactly how we want to be governed, and that's why we want to vote for him. And when they vote for this person is supposed to work out the script. He has already scripted right from time. You don't need the advice of World Bank. You don't need the advice of IMF to tell you whether you are doing it right or you are getting it wrong. No, you have entered into a covenant with the people based on your campaign promises, and then it is you and the people. It's the people that should tell you whether you are getting it right or wrong. So because most times these politicians, they fail because they listen to external forces rather than the people whom they are governing, and that is the reason why they will tell you that things are fine, things are okay, things are right based on external opinion and external assessment rather than internal assessment of the people who have elected them to govern them. So, and then because these people know that they are not even coming back to the people for vote, they know that they will always have their way and they get away with it, and that is why they don't listen to the people. When you are crying and saying that the pain is so much, they will tell you no, that the pain is not much, it's just a matter of time. And then 1 year has gone, 2 years have gone, and then we are going into 3 years, and they are still telling you the pain is just for a short while. You need to endure the pain and survive so that you can be able to see the gain. When you are talking about 15 years of gain to come out of of the pain of today. It is quite a long time, because we should be talking about how do people survive the next 15 years before they now start seeing the gains that you are talking about, the IMF is talking about. So, people have been talking about the homegrown solution to our problem, and it's one of the major challenges for African leaders. We should be thinking about homegrown solutions to our problem, not all these external influences that still keep us dependent on them. Let me give you, for an instance of how they keep Africa dependent. When they give us aids, they give us loans, and all manner of things that they call support. They will get you to sign an agreement with them, and then within that agreement, there are things that you should do, and there are things you should not do. And if that thing you should not do are the things that your people want, you can't do it, because you have already signed in an agreement that you are not going to do them. So these are the way they control the government of every African country, that allows them to give them those most of the time unsolicited assistance, because some of these assistants are just sit down and they will think and look and say, okay, get one or two consultants, get one or two individuals, they will come to you and they as a country and say, okay, come and take this money, because they know that African leaders are not productive. African leaders are people who just want to be in office, answer Mr. President or governor or whatever, and at the end of the day they amass wealth for themselves. So, and if they see easy money that they can easily access, they will always come, cap in hand, and they will jump at it, and they will now go, and when they collect those loans, they will spend those loans on things that distribute it among themselves, and then everybody goes home, and then the situation of the country remains the same. Now nothing has changed. They will tell you about the bills for infrastructure. Where are the infrastructure? We had what they now later termed Abacha loot in different trenches that were retrieved. Where are they? So some of those loots are just looted, and then the loans are looted. Everything is looted. It's in this country that somebody went to somewhere and they painted someone's aircraft and brought it and launched it at Nigeria Air, and up to today nothing has happened. Nobody has really said we must account for anything. So these are the things that we're talking about. Where is the airline even flying? So what happened? Where is the money that was budgeted for it? So these are the things that we do in Nigeria, that at the end of the day you begin to wonder whether we are actually independent as a people, or we are being influenced by powers, that some influences outside of the immediate society that's supposed to control what the government is doing.
Talking about control, what the government is doing, and also you made mention of Africa. Just a couple of days ago, the Kenyan president made a very, very bold statement. I don't know if you saw it, where he says the United Nations can, the United Nations can't really, forget or silence the voice of 54 nations while they call themselves the United Nations. But why do you think that when most conversations and most decisions are being taken in the global stage, countries from Africa and African leaders don't get to sit on that table? Do you think it's because of the ideology of what the aforementioned, the couple of things that you just said, is the main reason why the international communities don't want to give Africans a place at the table where they will be at the helm of affairs when taking decisions?
You see, how are we governing ourselves? I think that's where you should start. Is the African leaders that are governing Africa, are they people that you can actually trust with some level of powers? Let's take, for instance, a government or an individual who is coming to power, and then he decides to rig election to come to office. Then such a person is the person who will now give a veto power at the United Nations. Is that possible? Because he will turn himself into something else. And that is the reason why they are skeptical. Because Africans have not gotten it right in terms of governance. We don't have institutions that control how governance is. Okay, you can see in the United States of America, there are things that Donald Trump, as the president of the United States States of America wants to do. But because the system, the institutions there is strong enough to say, no, you cannot go beyond this boundary, you cannot go beyond this boundary, these are the boundaries set. Those are the things that we are talking about. In Africa, where are the boundaries? There are no boundaries. Any African president can decide and say, I'm going to stay for life. And what he needs to do is to go to the National Assembly or the whatever legislature that they have. They will change the law overnight and he will sign it into law and it becomes the law of the country and it remains there. So can that happen in any of these developed world? No. So they know why they don't want Africans to be there. Yes, it is painful. It is something that, despite the sacrifices that Africa have made, it is very painful that Africans are not allowed to be on the table where their fate is being decided. But the truth of it is that how has Africa governed themselves? How have we been able to help ourselves grow politically, grow democratically? How free is an African person in African state?
Not even going into the international
community. That is where the issue is. Now you will see that before one African country that have been given that veto power, you can decide to annex the rest of the African countries and decide to, if one greedy president have emerged, you decide to own the whole place. And say and when you talk, you say, no, I have the veto power. Like what is happening between Russia and Ukraine and the rest of the world. It's because Russia has a veto power. There's little or nothing any other country with a veto power can do, unless it's to be a full-blown world war. Then everybody gets involved. But as it is, there's not much you can do, and that is what we are talking about, giving to an African president that will not want to leave office and he will remain there forever. When Trump was voted out, yes, he cried and wailed and everything, but he went home and strategized, and the people still brought him back to office. An African president which African president, perhaps Goodluck Jonathan was the only one that we can hold out at this moment and say, yes, this is the African president that have decided against all odds to go.
Yes, and let peace reign.
And let peace reign. Which other president in Africa can you? There's no institutions in Africa that can restrain any president in Africa from institutionalizing himself and making himself the law in Africa. There's none.
Okay, let's come back home now and stay in, the country that is tagged the giant of Africa. Despite our vast resources, that's talking about Nigeria now, poverty remains a widespread. Where do you think policies have actually failed and is making Nigerians go deep into poverty on a daily basis?
Well, poverty, for me, is an instrument.
You think it's being weaponized?
Being used by the elite to keep people down. Because why? They are following external directives, external suggestions, implementing policies that are not indigenous. And those policies are actually were not meant for Africa to develop. See, some of these policies you see that some of these British institutions are additional. They don't implement them in their own countries. They will tell you to remove subsidy, that subsidy is bad. Subsidy is not good. But in their countries, they are subsidizing agriculture, they are subsidizing electricity, they are subsidizing all kinds of things. Food is not an issue in most of these countries because food is taken for granted. Food is not something that somebody will be shouting about food. But in Nigeria and the entire Africa, food is a major achievement. For somebody to be able to eat 3 square meals a day, people now have to hail and say, yes, we have achieved. No, these things are things that are taken for granted. In some of those countries, electricity is taken for granted. You don't come and say that the power has gone, the court power and all that. It does not happen. Even when there was tsunami, you saw how it took time before even the light would go off.
Yes.
Because in the midst of that tsunami, the light was still there, and immediately after that, within 2-3 3 days or 4 days, depending on the magnitude of the listing, which you can see by yourself, the lights are back. But if it is in Africa, anything that happens, just a little cloud gathering, the light is off. For now, since yesterday, in most parts of the country, no light. Because why? There was a shower of rain. So this is what we are talking about. So these institutions that we have are being influenced by outside, and that is what is inflicting poverty on the citizens. Let us carry out a homegrown exercise that will give us a homegrown solution to our problem, and then this poverty will go. If we are not asked to remove fuel subsidy the way we did it, today the kind of hardship Nigerians are passing through will not have been there. If we talk about the scam in the subsidy regime, in every country where the system does not regulate itself, you don't expect people not to see. Why is it that things are working in overseas? It's because the system does not allow you to do anything you like. But you see the same people from there come back to Nigeria. I don't want to exploit our oil. Can they spill oil in their country and get away with it? But we are getting away with it in Nigeria. So because we have a system within the country that does not punish anything. They have a way, everybody have a way of manipulating himself and getting away with it, and the system sets you free. So these are the things. That's why the Africa is poor. Aside policies now, for over a decade now, we've seen insecurity ravage most parts of the country, and most of these parts that insecurity have actually ravaged are actually, areas where lots of farmers are. Don't you think that has also contributed to the magnitude of, hunger that is in the land? Sure, it will contribute, but what are the cushioning effects? Okay. Because you cannot stop natural disasters from occurring. But what are you going to do to cushion the impact? Yes. Do you have a long-term plan on in case these things? Because some of these things are actually forecasted. Okay. So how do you, after that disaster, if there is a disaster, if you could not prevent it, what is the next thing that you can do to cushion the negative impact of that disaster, so that the people will not feel the full weight of the impact? These are the things we are talking about. It's just like somebody that had manufactured a car without shock absorbers, and then dishes it out on the street and deploys the car is running up and down on a very bad road, and then there are no shock absorbers. How do you expect the people who are occupying the car to feel? So that's what we are talking about. You don't just bring out policies and not think about the aftermath of that policies and how to cushion the shocks that should come out of it. These are the things that we are talking about. Yes, pain. When you want to, there's going to be a change. There's going to be an element of pain, but there are some pains that are preventable. There are some pain, level of pains that are preventable. That's why when you go to a hospital and the doctors want to carry out a surgery, they will give you an anesthesia to reduce the pain. It's not that you are not going to feel pain. You will still feel the pain, but the truth of it is that there are level of pain they will not allow you to feel. And that is what we are talking about. When you are implementing policies, you implement those policies in such a way that you don't inflict maximum pain just because you want the person to get all right. No, you don't do that. All right. Well, let's go on a very quick break, and then when we return back, this conversation continues. Please do stay with us.
Yes, many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Discuss here on Global Television Channel 365. I am Samuel Odi. Now, we're about to get into this other half of the conversation where we would look at the future and what can be done. Errors has probably been made, but we'll be looking further on how those errors can be corrected, or we move past them to, have a more united nation, a more nation that is being governed properly, and also that is on the path to a very, very good growth. I still have in the studio with me Comrade James Ezema, who is a public affairs and a political analyst, and also the national president for Not Too Young to Perform initiative. So, Comrade, looking at it now so far, there's just a whole lot that has been going on, from insecurity and all of that for the past 65 years. Nigeria has its own lows and highs from different sectors, both in economy, healthcare, education, and all of that. But let's look at the education sector, because children, they say, are the future of tomorrow, and then if the educational sector is not well taken care of, that means the future, it's a problem. We've seen in other developed countries where young kids from primary and secondary schools like crafting out lots of things that is helping their country, and also helping in the activities around the educational sector and as well as health sector. So what can be done within Nigeria's health, educational and health sector to have more, I would say, affordable healthcare and also affordable education?
Well, the issue is this: are those people who govern, are they interested in making education better? And I want to tell you something. Do you know that the people who have been dealing with who have been causing this level of setback in our education and health sector were the same people who benefited from free education in the years past? They were the set of people, without free education, they would never have ever gone to school. But these people are the people that they are making it difficult for every other person to go to school. When I remember the days of the Ali Must Go era. Ali Must Go era was a riot that was by the students, saying that the minister at the time should give way.
Yes.
Why? Because of small reduction in what they are giving them. They are still giving them free things, but instead of free chicken, they are giving you egg. And then you say no, that no, the man is wicked, he should go. But now these same people,
you are not going to see the shell of the egg.
The people that they will take the egg, take the shell, take everything, and then they will still ask you to pay for the small milk they are going to give you. Then you still have to pay for it. These are the things that we are talking about. So this set of leaders, are they interested in making education better? Are they interested in making healthcare better? These are the same people who are in government, and they travel overseas to go and treat themselves. Why can't you fix at least one hospital that's where you can be comfortably treated? If you are afraid, you can get your kinsmen to employed in the hospital to be taking care of you, or your personal doctor should be the one in charge taking care of you. But why must you travel abroad? So these are the things. Are they interested? They are not.
But we are seeing a lot of our nurses and doctors actually living. The Chapa syndrome is ongoing.
Yes, why will you not live? How much are they paying a doctor in Nigeria? You are a doctor, they pay you 150,000, 200,000, while they are paying 3 million, 4 million to one other doctor who is abroad, who is your schoolmate, that you people at school, you are communicating, telling you how much they are paying. Won't you go? You will go. No, but who wants to stay where he will not be taken care of? Let us take care of our medical personnel. Let's take care of our teachers. Do you know how much they are paying teachers abroad? But do you know that today, many private schools, they are still paying teachers 15,000. A teacher, in a month, you collect, some private schools are paying teachers 15,000.
Currently.
But
with the minimum wage being implemented, that means that school needs to be shut down, basically.
Is the government implementing minimum wage? So the government itself have not started implementing minimum wage. And that's why the issue is, how many states are paying minimum wage? That's the problem. A school that you see that you are in that school, a private school, that they are paying you 35,000, 40,000, 50,000, then that's a big school. That's a school that has a human face, you know, that they are doing, you see the teachers, they want to get a job at that place at all costs. The people that run the economy, they are not interested. Even the schools, what incentives are they getting from government to support their own system to run? These are people who are helping government to take care of young children who ordinarily will not have gone to school if they were not there. Some of these private schools.
Yes.
If they were not there, so many people would not have gone to school because there are no schools for them.
That's talking about government.
That's a government school and public schools. Because the public schools are very limited compared to the number of people who gain admission into the basic education every year. Then how are you going to continue to run a country that way and you think that it will get better? The education, health are primary things. They are primary responsibilities of government that should not be neglected by any means. But how are we taking care of it? Even the education budget, when it's made, how much of that budget is released? And then those ones that are released, how much of them actually goes to the people who needs them? Because sometimes the contracts are awarded, some people who are awarded the contract collect their own part of the share of the contract. The contract now goes down to the middle people that will do the supply and do all the things for the contractor. They will collect their own share. Before the time they are going to deliver whatever that is being needed in a particular place, either the substandard one is delivered or something short of what was actually budgeted for will be delivered. And what are you going to do? You see that somebody somewhere will now write, okay, it was supposed to be 1,000 and at the end of the day it's 100 that was supplied. He will still sign that 1,000 was delivered and then he collect his own share and still keep quiet. And these are the things we are talking about. So there's no country that runs this way that you will say that country is going to survive anytime soon. It's not going to be, the sickness will be prolonged. You know, when they talk about prolonged ailment, that is what we are talking about. A sickness that has lasted for 65 years is already a prolonged sickness. And that's what we are. It's in the education sector, it's in the health sector, is in the energy sector, is in the petroleum sector, is in everywhere. Even the issue of security is still the same thing. So over the years we have been talking about no water, no light, no food, no this, no that, and those things are the same thing we are talking about. How our roads are they not reliable? Okay, now there were this Abuja Kaduna Abuja rail that was built by previous administration. The Buhari administration came, just to operate.
Yes.
How has it been operational? Is either there is a kidnap or there is a derailment.
Yes.
The same has continued within this administration too. Is either there is a kidnap or an attack or by bandits or a derailment or something must happen that will make the rail system to be shut down when people resort back to the roads, which is considered the ab initio very dangerous for some people to do because of insecurity. And this thing has continued over the years. Our roads, how good are the roads? And these are the things we are talking about. If I were a president of Nigeria, I would travel by road, by whatever means, even if it requires me to have a trailer, several trailer loads of security men. I will want to travel by road to see exactly what is there. Travel from Abuja to Lagos. You will see hell on the road. Beyond the insecurity, the road is very bad. And because the roads are bad, it encourages insecurity. Because these kidnappers and all this government, they will come to that place, those portions of the road where they are bad, where you cannot speed off. Those are the places they will come and stay. And then by the time you are slowing down because you are meandering the potholes and all kinds of bad portions of the road, then these people will have the opportunity to attack and then kidnap some people and take away passengers or vehicles. Yeah, but the thing is because the roads are bad. If the roads are okay, you have solved part of the security problem by making the road very motorable. Who want to go and stay on the express and be waving down a living vehicle? Yeah. No criminal. Criminals are not stupid. You know, these people are not stupid. They cannot go and stand on the road and be waving a very, unless you find a way to lure that driver to stop. But beyond that, you cannot just come and sweep on the driver just like that.
So looking at this now, all of this, do you think the corruption and institution has, failed to, undermine or the gains of independence? Do you think it has caused a hiccup between what is meant to be achieved and what we are getting now?
When you talk about corruption, is like talking about when you have twins, that's when you get to hospital, they tell you these twins are inseparable. They are conjoined and they are inseparable because if you separate them, one of them may die or both may die. That's how corruption has become synonymous with our system. We have it's like a conjoined twin that if you separate it from Nigeria, it's either Nigeria die or so corruption. That's why some politicians will tell you until we kill corruption will kill Nigeria because that is how they see it. It's a conjoined twin. So when are we going to end this mouthing about corruption? Because it is I have found it that it is the people that shout corruption the most. They are the most corrupt. They are the people that always will want to meander their way. Now, if you say you want to fight corruption and then you buy votes, you rig election, you bribe the judiciary, or you influence the judiciary because you know one person or the other to allow you to become a leader, how are you going to fight corruption? When your office you are occupying, you got there by corruption, how are you going to stop? It's not possible. So if we want to deal with the issue of corruption, our system should be incorruptible, first of all. Our institutions should be incorruptible, first of all. And then we can now produce leaders who are incorruptible. Otherwise, I don't know how you are going to fight. Corruption.
Okay, you've actually literally said it. I'm looking at it now. Okay, now in the next 5 years, 5-10 years, next decade, what reforms do you think needs to be done and be followed to the teeth to see that Nigerians' electoral system and also the constitution and the corruption issues, get, if not totally out of the system, but at least reduced to the barest minimum?
I think first of all, they say if the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do?
So we should break the foundation.
So we have to go back to the foundation.
Yes.
And what is the foundation of Nigeria? There is a set of rules that is called the ground norm in Nigeria, which is our constitution.
Yes.
Let us look at a constitution that people say this is our own. We give to ourselves this law. Yes. Let us stop this trying to manipulate things, trying to amend the unamendable, trying to make something that you know that it will not work just because you want to benefit from what is ongoing at the moment. You decide to allow something that you know will never work to remain. See, if a thing is never, if the people don't have kind of confidence in anything, no matter how you try to patch it, it cannot improve their confidence. And until they are confident and they have a buy-in, that thing will continue to lack legitimacy. And that is how they will continue to distance themselves from that thing and whatever product that comes out of it. And that is how our constitution is. The level of participation of Nigerians in the democratic process is as a result of their refusal to own the national document, which is the constitution that we operate today, because they say this is not our constitution. We did not give it to ourselves. The military gave us this constitution. That's why some people have come together and said, look, let us go back and subject this thing to a referendum, so that at the end of the show, the people can now vote yes or no. Because that thing it may look simple, but it's very germane. Because if I did not buy into anything, I did not own it, then how do you expect me not to blame you if anything goes wrong? And that's the reason why the country is the way it is going. And then when you get the government right, then you talk about how the institution can be strengthened, so that these institutions can be self-regulatory, so that you can find a way to ensure that some of those laws somebody cannot just wake up and then say, because I'm a powerful person, you will change whatever set of rules that are there within a particular institution. That's what we are talking about. The moment we begin to get our constitutions right, get the institutions right, and then the products that come out of those institutions will be something that everybody will be proud of. They will know that yes, this is our own. As they used to say, this is our own. And then let me give you an instance. If today they play tribal politics. Now most times you will see that if somebody comes from a particular tribe, even some people within that tribe who are dying as a result of the policy of that same individual, they still say, no, don't leave him is our own. That is ownership. And that is how it is when the people own a particular thing. They will say, oh, let us be patient. You don't need to tell them to be patient. No, they will say, let us be patient. We are the one that produced this thing. Let us be patient with him. Yeah, we know that he will do the right thing. But when you did not own it, you were not part of it. You rejected it ab initio, either by your vote or by non-participation. And then the same system that you rejected is now operating, and he wants you to be patient. No, it's not going to work, because the people will be angry, and that's why you see increase in insecurity. Those are reactions. Security is not only just because somebody is a criminal. No, there are some economically induced criminality. Some of those ones, they are the things that you find use the policies of government to deal with and solve. Not gun and bombs. No. Because you cannot solve it. Somebody who knows that if I stay hungry I will die, if I go out there I will die, so is it not better die struggling to be alive? That's what some of these people have in their mentality. And these people are young people who are full of future. They have hopes of survival, and then the system is strangulating them, and you say they should not fight back.
Well, I guess what we wish we had so much time to still have more conversation. I have more burning questions to ask, but sadly this is how much time will permit us. But looking at it now, as Nigeria marks 65 years of independence, one truth is clear: the responsibility to shape the future lies in the hands of every Nigerian, and also with good leadership, active citizenship, and collective vision, the dream of a truly united and prosperous Nigeria remains achievable. My name is Samuel Odi, and I want to say a very big thank you to Comrade James Ezema, public affairs analyst, political analyst, and the national president, Not Too Young to Perform initiative. Thank you so much for joining us. I would say happy Independence Day to all Nigerians, and be a patriotic citizen. Do whatever you can from your little corner to make Nigeria great and better. I'll see you again as we discuss further. Bye for now.